I'm Michele Combs, and I'm the founder and the chairman of the Young Conservatives for Energy Reform.
Why did you think such a group was necessary to begin with?
So, I have a personal story that whenever I had my son and I was pregnant with my son, my doctor told me not to eat fish. And as I researched this and found out the reason why I could not eat fish was because of the mercury from the coal-fired plants that goes into our water. And I was really shocked that we as Republicans and conservatives were not talking about this. And so as I talked to different people, especially the older conservatives, they actually told me that this was a liberal issue, to stay away from this issue, and I was just flabbergasted because this is a family issue. This is something that affects all of us. And as I was talking to the younger conservatives, I realized that they get it and they understand, and they really want to do something for our environment, and they really want to help, clean energy become more prevalent in this country. I thought to myself, the only thing that Washington listens to is money and grassroots, and I've been in grassroots all my life. So I decided to start a national grassroots organization of young conservatives who care about energy reform and want to do something not just for our party, but for our country.
When you think of clean energy or the alternative to coal-fired power plants, what are the things that seem are your top priorities?
Well, our top priorities are anything that can get us eventually off of fossil fuels. I know that it's going to be a long process, and it's going to be baby steps, but I think that this country is the best country in the world, and that we're so innovative, and I think that with solar, wind, renewables, biofuels, the list is, I call it our next moonwalk because the frontier is so vast and so big, and I think that we have so many natural, homegrown energy here that in 20 years, we can be totally off of, or fossil fuels are close to it.
Well, tell me what it's like to talk to other Republicans about this, and then we'll get into the presidential race.
Sure. Well, it's all about education because I think when you start with energy independence, I think most Republicans want to be energy independent. They don't like having wars, and they don't like to buy oil from countries that hate us and want to harm us. And then I think most people want clean air. I've never talked to anyone that doesn't want clean air. So, it's all about education. It's all about, I think this issue was so polarized for so many years, and I think it had the wrong messenger. So I think getting it back sort of in our court, and I think it's a slow process, but, I haven't had any negative feedback. I haven't had any. It's just all about education, education, education.
There's a lot of name-calling, deniers
Right.
when it comes to climate change, and when I look behind the yelling, I see a lot of some of the same things you were just talking about. I know libertarians who love to not have to rely on a utility for all their electricity. Having a solar panel or your own, some kind of capacity to generate your own electricity is a very powerful thing for someone who wants limited control over their
Right.
lives from the outside. So if I want to argue with that person about their attitudes on global warming, when in fact they have the same energy interests, to me that strikes. And I've seen people who, if you make it all about climate change, for example, you might be alienating people who could be allies. I don't know if you see that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, of course. It's not a litmus test for our group because I think we would alienate. But I think there's a process of getting there. And I think if you start with the energy independence and with renewables and with the homegrown energy, and especially with the younger conservatives and the millennials, they don't have a problem with climate change. They know it's out there. And even a lot of the candidates that are running now, have definitely acknowledged it.
Tell me about what's happening on debate night. You're having kind of a party, right?
It's a pre-reception and then a debate watching party tomorrow night at the Hard Rock Cafe, which is located right next to the Quicken Loans Arena, and we're expecting about 500 people there.
Wow.
And we're going to have some of the candidates and a lot of local politicians, and it's just going to be a great time. And like during the debate, we're going to analyze some of the questions, and we're going to get a lot of feedback from the audience. So I think it's going to be a really good time.
The people who seem to have gotten the most attention so far in the Republican race are not people who focus on this issue. What is the deal here?
Well, if you're talking about Donald Trump, I think he's just the one that spoke the loudest so far, and I think he's out there just grandstanding. But I think we'll probably see probably different candidates tomorrow night. I think they'll all behave. or I hope so.
Among the Republican candidates who are, in the debate, who's already kind of got this agenda the way you want it?
Well, a person that I've worked with very, very closely, a very good friend of our family, and I think has been a champion on this issue, is Senator Graham from my home state of South Carolina, who I'm very proud of and has always been a great proponent of this issue. I do think that Governor Christie in New Jersey has done some great things. Former governor of New York, Governor Pataki. I think Governor Kasich right here in Ohio has done a lot of things for clean energy. And Governor Perry actually said in his speech that bringing wind turbines to Texas was one of his greatest accomplishments. And Senator Rubio, has done some great things on the coast of Florida. So I think about half the candidates right now have really embraced this issue.
What about some of the approaches that currently are being pursued by President Obama? I mean, some of these things like with climate change, the Supreme Court gave the EPA the authority to regulate carbon dioxide as a pollutant, but there's a lot of opposition among the Republican Party to having that approach be the approach. I don't know if on the legislative arena, or what's the toolkit that you would see as appropriate here?
Well, we're looking at all that. I mean, of course, we don't want to hurt small businesses, and we don't want to hurt anyone. I think it's a good step for the president to be taking, but I don't know if we want to go that many regulations. But we're looking at it as a whole.
This issue has become so characterized by polarization and paralysis. Do you have your own sense of that you really can get past that?
Yes, absolutely. I think what I was saying earlier, I think in the beginning it was all about the messenger and about the polarization, and that's how that issue. But I think that Republicans, if you look at poll after poll, that they really want to do, especially about the research and development. I think that is an issue that we can definitely come together on. And even the issue of climate change and the CO2, what you were speaking about earlier, I think that we can work on some bipartisan legislation, because I think the majority of Americans want to be energy independent, and they want to use our natural resources, and they want to use our renewables, and they do want to get off fossil fuels. So I think with groups like ours and other groups that are out there, and just getting our word out, and there's such a disconnect from what's happening in Washington and happening in states, but the states are going on, and the states are really moving forward. There's some great governors, like my own governor, Haley of South Carolina, Governor Schneider, who's a Republican governor of Michigan. So I think when Washington really gets out there and starts to see what is going on in their states and what people really want, I know we're going to have some comprehensive energy reform that everybody's going to like, and it's going to be true bipartisan.